The sky above Kapilavastu was serene, too serene. A flock of cranes crossed the palace roof, drifting quietly toward the horizon. Down in the inner chamber, Queen Maya watched them through a lattice window, her hand resting gently on the curve of her belly. She had not yet told anyone about the dream. Not about the white elephant. Not about the lotus. And certainly not about the strange whisper she'd heard in her heart the morning after, a whisper that carried both promise and fear. The palace buzzed with celebration. King Suddhodana had returned victorious from battle. There were garlands in the hallways, music in the courtyards, and joy in every corner of the kingdom. But joy is not always mirrored in every heart. Here stood a woman who loved deeply, not just her king, not just her sister Babati who waited with her, but something more. She loved without needing reward. She loved enough to hope, even in the ache of absence. For though both queens stood tall beside the king, neither had yet borne a child. Maya had heard the prophecy. If the child is born in the palace, the astrologers warned, the father will die. But she never spoke of it. Not to the king. Not even to her sister Babati, who would have listened with a loyal heart. No, Maya chose silence. She did not weep, nor plead, nor run. She watched the sky, the birds, the people she loved, and made a decision. She would leave. Not because she feared death, but because she believed in love. And sometimes the strongest protection is not a sword, but a step away. She waited until evening when the palace grew quieter. Then she approached her husband, not as a queen, but as a wife. Babati wishes to return home to see our parents, she said softly. I'd like to accompany her. She smiled, no trace of fear in her eyes. Only calm. When the child is born, I believe you'll come and bring us home. There was no mention of omens, no hint of danger, only tenderness, and the king, moved by her grace, agreed. What he didn't know, what no one would know, was that Maya had just saved his life, not with warnings, not with force, but with the most disarming power of all, compassion and silence. The Return and the Dream. The sun dipped low over Kapilavastu as golden banners flapped gently in the breeze. From the palace towers, horns blared their triumphant notes. The war was over. The king was coming home. Queen Maya stood at the steps of the marble hall, her posture regal yet serene. Beside her, Babati, her younger sister, confidant, and the second queen, clutched her shawl with nervous joy. When King Suddhodana appeared on horseback, flanked by warriors and chants, the crowd roared. But Maya's eyes did not seek the crowd's gaze. They looked only at the man she had waited for. His eyes found hers, and though duty weighed on his shoulders, something in his face softened. He dismounted not like a conqueror, but like a husband returning home. No child yet ran to his arms. No small feet pattered in the halls. But there was warmth, and perhaps for now that was enough. That night, the palace glowed in celebration. Lights floated in lotus ponds. Musicians played ragas that rose into the stars. Maya retired early, not from fatigue, but from something she could not yet name. She lay beneath fine silk, the scent of sandalwood in the air. Then in the hush between waking and sleep, the dream came. A white elephant, radiant and strong, descended from a cloud. In its trunk, a pink lotus. It circled her 3 times and entered her womb without pain, without fear. Maya felt a calm warmth spread through her chest. Her body relaxed. A strange peace, unlike anything she had ever known, enveloped her as she drifted deeper into sleep. And that night, she slept more soundly than she had in years. When morning arrived, she woke with a gentle smile. Over breakfast, she recounted the dream to the king. He listened carefully, a furrow of reverence on his brow. Then he summoned the royal sage. After deep contemplation, the sage spoke. "This dream is sacred. A being of infinite wisdom is choosing your womb as a path to enter this world. This child will not be ordinary. He may become a universal ruler, a Chakravartin." The king looked at Maya, wonder and awe dancing in his eyes. And for the first time in a long time, Maya felt not just hope, but certainty. Later that day, a monk passing through the city requested audience with the queen. An ascetic, old and bright-eyed. Maya welcomed him. He asked no questions. Instead, he bowed, touched the earth, and murmured, "The wheels of time begin again. That which was asleep prepares to awaken." Maya, startled, only nodded. She felt as though the words of the monk had echoed her dream. Something sacred was stirring, acknowledged now by more than just her own heart. And though she had already shared the dream with her husband and heard the sage's blessing, this unexpected visitor affirmed what she could not fully name, that a great unfolding had begun. The prophecy and the poison. The news of Maya's pregnancy spread through the palace like incense on festival wind, sweet, soothing, and utterly unforgettable. Babati clapped her hands in delight. Servants whispered in awe. Even the king, known for his composed exterior, let out a laugh so full of hope it echoed through the corridor like temple bells. But not every heart beat in joy. Lady Mangala, wife to the king's brother and mother to the beloved Devdatta, heard the news from behind sheer silk curtains. Her fingers tightened around a jade bangle until it cracked. A child born to Maya would mean Devdatta would never be heir. And so envy planted its seed. That evening, Maya's favorite dish was prepared, a bowl of sweetened milk with saffron and lotus root. Babati, always thoughtful, brought it to her herself. With steady hands and a sister's care, Babati took the spoon, dipped it into the warm milk, and gently raised it toward Maya's lips. Her movements were tender, instinctive, the way one tends to a loved one without thought. Just before the spoon reached Maya's lips, Devdatta, bright-eyed and ever curious, ran into the chamber. "I want some too," he declared with a cheerful grin, reaching for the bowl. Babati laughed softly, eyes glowing with affection. "Greedy little prince," she teased gently and scooped a spoonful to feed him first. But just as the spoon neared the boy's mouth, Lashika burst in, pale and breathless. "My lady, stop!" she cried. "The milk is poisoned." Chaos erupted. Maya froze, eyes wide with disbelief. Babati's hand jerked back, the spoon rattling. Her breath caught in her throat as the weight of what nearly happened struck her full force. She had almost unwittingly delivered poison to her sister, and to Devdatta, the child she cherished like her own. Babati, pale and shaken, clutched Maya's hands. I could have harmed you both," she whispered as tears welled in her eyes. An investigation was launched immediately. Babati herself demanded answers. She questioned Lashika, the maid who had intervened. With hesitation, Lashika revealed the truth. The poison had been slipped in by her own fiancé, a kitchen attendant, under pressure. Before he could be formally interrogated, the man was found dead, struck down by none other than Prince Saratha, Mangala's husband, under the pretext of protecting royal dignity and silencing potential scandal. The official reason: he posed a threat to the royal family. He had to be dealt with. But the truth hung heavy in the air like unspoken incense. The trail of guilt was clear but not complete. The true mastermind remained untouched, safe in the shadows. Maya sat quietly in her chamber that evening, her hand over her stomach. Her sister sat beside her, eyes red but fierce. Babati said nothing. She only nodded and held her sister's hand tighter. A few days later, Mangala herself came to visit. Draped in violet silk and veiled in concern, she arrived with slow, careful steps, eyes heavy with what appeared to be empathy. "I've consulted the astrologers," she said gently. "They've seen signs, clear signs. If your child is born here in this palace, the king's life may be in danger." Her voice wavered just enough to seem sincere. Maya listened quietly. She thanked Mangala, not with suspicion, but with calm dignity. To others, it was a conversation between women of the court, bound by duty, worry, and the welfare of the king. But that night, in the stillness of her chamber, Maya's mind did not rest. She did not know who had arranged the poison. She did not know how deep the roots of envy stretched. But she knew this: there were dangers she could not name, and some enemies never showed their face. Perhaps Mangala truly feared for the king. Perhaps she only feared losing power. It made no difference. Maya would not argue with prophecy. She would not confront shadows with fire. She would leave. And in leaving, she would protect more than just herself. Not with accusation, not with fear, but with the one weapon no ambition could corrupt: silent compassion. The decision to leave. The halls of Kapilavastu glowed with early summer light, but the heart of Queen Maya remained still, held in quiet resolve. Days had passed since the warning wrapped in velvet words. No accusations had been made. No fears had been voiced. But something inside her had shifted. She walked the palace gardens with Babati, their footsteps soft upon the stone path. "I think," Maya said gently, "you should visit our parents. They would be overjoyed to see you again." Babati glanced sideways, sensing more behind the suggestion. "And you?" Maya smiled. "I will come with you. For a while." Babati hesitated. "Will the king agree?" "I will speak with him." That evening, Maya entered the royal chamber dressed not in regal finery, but in a simple robe of pale silk. The flickering oil lamps painted golden halos on the walls. King Suddhodana looked up from his scrolls, his eyes softening. "You look thoughtful," he said. "I am," she replied. "I have a request." He set the scroll aside. "Babati wishes to return to see our parents," she said, her voice even. "I'd like to accompany her, to care for her, and to spend quiet time away before the child comes." She mentioned the poison only once, briefly, and without blame. The king already knew. He had ordered the matter closed, but she wanted him to know her departure was not driven by fear, only by care. Nothing of the prophecy. Only warmth. Only stillness. For a moment the king studied her. Perhaps he felt the weight she did not name. Perhaps he didn't. But he nodded. "Very well," he said. "Let it be as you wish." Maya bowed her head. "When the child is born," she whispered, "I know you will come for us." The next morning, preparations began. No royal proclamation. No parade. Just quiet farewells and quiet eyes. Babati stood at the gate holding Maya's hand. Servants loaded simple luggage onto the carts. A soft breeze carried the scent of jasmine. As they climbed into the chariot, Maya looked once more toward the palace, the home she had kept, the man she loved, the life she was stepping away from. She said nothing, but in her silence there was a power that echoed louder than any command. I choose love, not safety, not pride, just love. The birth beneath the sala tree. The road to Lumbini was quiet. The wheels of the chariot turned slowly over dusty paths, cutting through fields of mustard blossoms and whispering grasses. No guards, no banners, no fanfare. Only the soft creak of wood, the clop of hooves, and two women wrapped in shared silence. Babati sat close to her sister, glancing often at Maya's face. Though the queen was nearing the final days of her pregnancy, her composure remained serene. The weight she carried was more than just the child. It was a truth she had never spoken aloud, that love sometimes means disappearing for the sake of others. They stopped briefly in villages along the way. The local people offered fruit and water, bowing low without knowing whom they were blessing. Maya responded with kind eyes, and a hand rested gently on her belly. By the sixth day, they reached the outskirts of Lumbini, a sacred grove known for its sala trees, which bloomed in radiant clusters. The air there held a stillness untouched by human noise, as if nature itself had paused in reverence. That morning, as birds stirred in the canopy and sunlight spilled between the branches, Maya felt a movement deep within her. She turned to Babati. "It is time." They laid out cloth beneath a great sala tree, its trunk wide and warm against Maya's back. Babati knelt beside her, steadying her breath, steadying her spirit. Maya closed her eyes. No palace, no doctors, no chance, only the earth. And from that earth a cry, a child's first breath, carried into the world with quiet grace. Maya opened her eyes, sweat upon her brow. Babati held up the infant, a boy wrapped in light. He did not cry. He looked directly at his mother, eyes calm, as if remembering her from 1,000 lifetimes. Maya wept, but not from pain. "I've given him to the world," she whispered. Babati nodded. "And the world will never be the same." They named him Siddhartha, the one who would fulfill his purpose. And beneath the sala trees, watched only by sky and sister, the future Buddha took his first breath. In the grand halls of Kapilavastu, history would remember the king, the throne, and the prophecy. But in the quiet folds of compassion, something deeper would remain. the silent courage of a woman who chose love over control. Queen Maya's journey was not marked by battle or debate. She wielded no army, no decree. And yet, her one decision to leave quietly altered the course of the world. 1. True compassion is often invisible. Maya didn't flee out of fear. She wasn't exiled. She wasn't defeated. She walked away because she understood something many never do. That to love truly is not to possess, but to protect. That to protect sometimes means to disappear. She bore the burden of silence, not because she lacked a voice, but because her voice chose gentleness over alarm. No one knew the storm she walked through, but they lived because she walked through it alone. 2. The strongest people don't need to be seen. In today's world, value is often linked to visibility, but Maya was never trying to be seen. She didn't seek validation for her decision. She didn't even reveal the full reason for her departure. Her strength came from self-possession, not self-promotion. And in that, she teaches us. Sometimes the most influential person in the room is the one who steps out of it. 3. Leadership through tenderness. Maya could have used fear. She could have said, "If I stay, my child's father may die." But she didn't. Instead, she said, "I want to care for my sister." She gave the king a choice rooted in love, not in dread. And because of that, his agreement was not from panic, but from trust. True leadership isn't manipulation. It's clarity wrapped in kindness. Maya chose that. 4. Babati and the power of sisterhood. We often talk of Maya, but Babati stood beside her every step. Babati never sought glory, but she watched over her sister, wept when danger came, and held her hand as she gave birth beneath a tree. This bond, unspoken but unbreakable, was part of what gave Maya the strength to carry forward. In a world that measures worth by outcome, Babati reminds us, presence is enough. 5. Modern relevance. When to step back. Everyone today wants to speak louder, go viral, defend themselves. But Maya's story teaches there is dignity in quiet withdrawal. There is grace in choosing not to escalate. There is wisdom in saying, "I will not fight this. I will outlove it." When faced with danger, manipulation, or envy, we often ask, how do I win? Maya reframed the question. How do I protect what matters most without becoming what I fear? That is real power. The broken wing trick. In a quiet forest at the edge of spring, a mother bird built her nest high among the branches of an old fig tree. Her eggs were small, speckled, and still waiting for the moment they would crack open into life. She kept her nest hidden from the world, feeding in silence, returning in stillness. The winds knew her. The rain did too. But she never drew attention. One afternoon, as the sun cast long gold stripes across the forest floor, a jackal crept close. He had caught her scent. The mother bird saw the shadow flicker below. Her heart thundered, but she did not panic. She did not cry for help. Instead, she leapt from her branch, fluttering low to the ground, dragging one wing behind her. She flapped in circles, feigning helplessness. The jackal's eyes lit up. Easy prey, he thought, and chased her into the brush. She darted just ahead, always close enough to tempt him, never close enough to catch. And when the tree swallowed them both from view, the wind returned to the fig tree. The nest was untouched. The chicks hatched days later, and they never knew what their mother had done. Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. The Dhammapada. Queen Maya did not raise armies. She did not write verses. She did not preach. And yet, her one act of compassion, the choice to leave her palace in silence, made space for the Dhamma to enter the world. In Buddhist thought, this is not coincidence. It is sacred cause and effect. The Buddha was not simply born from a body. He was born from an atmosphere of metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, and upekkha, equanimity. Maya embodied them all. She chose not to confront envy with blame, nor to use fear to move her husband. She chose not to protect herself, but to protect her world. And in doing so, she practiced what many spend lifetimes learning, the wisdom of stepping aside without leaving behind love. Her sister, later known as Prajapati Gotami, would go on to raise Siddhartha and become the first ordained Buddhist nun. Together, these two women did more than fulfill roles. They carried the Dhamma before it had a name. They did so not through lectures, but through presence, intention, and unshakable love. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings. That was Maya. Her departure was not a retreat. It was a turning of the wheel, not a loss, but the beginning of liberation for her son and for the world. The greatest storms are not always thunderous. Sometimes they are the choices we make in silence. Queen Maya didn't raise her voice. She didn't demand, accuse, or fight. She simply stepped aside so another could thrive. And in doing so, she rewrote what strength means. The palace remained. The king survived. The child was born. But none of that would have happened had she not chosen compassion over confrontation. In a world obsessed with proving, Maya proved nothing. She just loved. And that was enough. Let us remember, protection doesn't always look like a shield. Sometimes it looks like a journey taken without explanation. Sometimes it is holding your pain so others don't have to feel it. Sometimes it is letting go, not because you're weak, but because your love is strong enough to trust the outcome. Maya never asked to be known. But we know her now not by her name, but by her choice. And Babati? She never demanded recognition either. But the world remembers those who hold hands in the quiet. So today, pause. Think of those you protect without ever saying so. Think of the silences you've carried. And ask, is there strength in my stillness? Is there wisdom in my grace? Is there love in my letting go? Because that's where true transformation begins, not in conquest, but in quietness. If this story moved something in you, let it stay with you. You don't have to share it, but if you do, let it be not for applause, but for reflection. Because the most beautiful ripples start in silence. Reconnect with image of the storm avoided, not by force but by grace. Invite listener to consider, who do we quietly protect? How can we act with subtle compassion?